Hello, Ty. This is Al. I'm going through your Captivate program, and there's some things that are a little bit weird with your assessment. So, starting off, you get to the assessment slide, and if you don't get the right answer, you keep on going back to the screen before it. And as a user, I don't know why that's happening. I mean, I know why it's happening in the programming, but I'm not quite sure as a user why I keep on going back, except for to get an incorrect answer. So one of the things that we can add is or modify is the fact that the feedback tells the user that they're going to be returned back to this previous screen to try again. So I'm on your quiz question, and one of the things you can work on is basically the options underneath the quiz. So I'm up here in the upper left hand corner, and so inside of that, I'm looking down here, and it says, the correct answer I see is A. Okay, but then it has got different messages. So continue message, and then it's got complete and time limit. So one of the things about this is over here you have on success continue, but if they don't succeed, then they go to the last slide visited. Well, that's just going to keep on taking them for loops, and the learner's going to be very confused for that. I would actually change this to move on. So basically, instead of going to the next slide or last slide, remember this program, we have to use the jump to slide. We don't use next slide and previous slide. So you go jump to slide and then choose a slide number to it. So jump to slide, and we're not going to do slide 1. This is actually slide, what is that number? It looks like it's slide 2022. So what we're going to do is in a program, we're going to make it so that there's a change with the quiz. Instead of jump to slide 1, we go to jump to 22. Okay, that allows the user to not be confused if they keep on going and seeing the same thing. Yes, they'll get the incorrect answer, but then they'll go and move on. Now you could do the loop what you did, but it is confusing to the user. Okay. Then when I got to the assessment, I see them in the assessment section. I see one note about where to start to add. Okay. And then I see where your click box is. But after I go to that screen and go through the program, so let me go bring this up in the browser. So I'm going to take and move on. Okay, I'm in the assessment. I click on the next button. Okay, I see instructions. Start adding new user to Meteor. What is the first step you take? So I click on the box, which is great. Okay, now I'm not quite sure what to do. Am I supposed to go through the whole process, or what am I supposed to do? So I would make sense that I could keep on going with this, but as a user, I get no feedback about what I'm supposed to be doing next. Like you need to have some instructions in your assessment that tells the user, well, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to type in something, or what is the question you're asking them at that stage? Because as a user, I don't know that I'm supposed to continue through the process or anything like that. Okay, so I don't know. So I ended up just start clicking around trying to find anything to do what next because I don't see any instructions that tell me what to do next. Okay, so in the assessment portion, you need to add the directions just like in this one. So first step, what do you go to? Well, that one you also need to go to the next screen and add something in there. It's like, okay, what do I do next? Okay, you put in here, great, great. You have found the button to add a new user. Uh, uh, Now that you have found the button, what is the next step? Okay, so to so now what happens is the user knows, but I'm going to just do not just next step, but next step to add that user. Okay, so what it is I'm actually giving feedback, and I ask the user the next question to go in the step. So when they go to it, they if they click on it, they get the correct answer. But if they don't, they have to get some sort of feedback. So right now, as a user, I have no clue what happens if I don't click on the right area. Like I don't get any feedback with that. Okay, and it says, so I see this box that says correct, try again, but I'm assuming that's incorrect. Okay, since it's the same color as the background, you really can't see it. So one of the options you have to do is just something so it stands out a little bit, so the user knows. Oh, wait a second. You know what? I didn't get that one correct. I need to try something else. So I just did a quick fill and change the opacity a little bit, just so I need to, so I can see where it is. Okay, and so that's my biggest issue. I mean, like I said, everything else works. It's just there's no directions about any feedback once I click on that first slide of the assessment. Um, that's the one thing that I really saw that I was very confused about, because as a user, I'm expecting I need to do something. Okay. The other thing is, as I was going through these steps here, okay, and seeing them, you don't have any step associated with it. So this one should be just click on the plus symbol. It needs to be step 1. So STEP 1, and then click on the button, and then the next one needs to be whatever the second step is. So this is the next step. So this one is here. So click on this, put on there the little note in there, and this one is not step 1. This one's step 2. So you need to have your steps and your instructions, because right now as a user, you're just telling me what to do, but it's not really part of my learning. I need to know how many steps are associated with this so that I can repeat them if I miss any of the steps. Okay, that's one of the other things that I saw that was very confusing to me, because like I said, you're telling me what to do, but I'm not quite sure where I am in the learning. I know that one of the things that we talked about also was not just putting in their step 1, but actually telling the user how many steps they have to complete yet. So it's 1 of 5. Okay, so that way that the user knows, oh, okay, I've gone through those 5 steps in this process. Okay, and it walks them through it. The other thing you can do is actually, when you go to your screen where they start the learning, you can actually say this program will teach you in 5 steps how to add a user, or adding a user is just 5 steps. Okay. The other thing about this is there's no directions about what to do. I see the next button there. Naturally, since we're both e-learning developers, we would assume that the next button would start. But as a user who's going to this, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing that's in here. Okay, and actually, you can click on the welcome screen and it'll take you over. That really isn't how it's supposed to work. The buttons have got to control it, and you need to give us a little directions in here so that we know what to do. Click on the next button to move to the next screen, or click on the getting started to move to the next screen. That's actually one of the things. They need to have some sort of directions for this, so I know what to do. Okay. The other thing that, as I look at this, I'm trying to figure out for my actions. So you have, this is your button there. Okay. The actions for it are to go to the next slide. Well, remember, with this and with PowerPoint or any of the programs, we don't have to go to the next slide. We choose the option of go to slide, okay, or jump to slide, and then we tell what the slide number is. So I'm on slide 1. I need to put in there slide 2. So we are not using any of the next slides or previous slides. That's actually a big deal, because the fact is that part of your program, when they just keep on going to the next slide, it doesn't always function, okay? Because the fact is, sometimes I get to an assessment area where I can't do anything. I can't go anywhere. Going to the next slide just loops back to my previous component. So one of the things that's really important with a Captivate is that our slides actually go to a slide number, not just the next slide, because the next slide is not always the correct one in the instructional process. Okay, so if they go to the assessment, well, that doesn't match up quite correctly. So this one, we're going to go to the end of the program, and it may be going to the next slide, maybe going exactly. Go to the next slide, but at this point, that's not really what we're doing. We should be putting in there what we're jumping to. Okay, so we have to put in the exact screen that we're jumping to. That's really important as part of this process, because we want to make sure that we're thinking about where each slide can go. There's actually a spot with the assessment where you can actually skip the assessment screen. You don't have to go through it and jump into the instruction or into the assessment. But the biggest thing is when I get to the assessment, and that was the thing that probably really confused me the most and frustrated me because I couldn't do a whole lot, was that when I got down to the assessment portion, I wasn't quite sure what to do. Okay, so that's the biggest thing that I would change, is add in there some directions so that the user knows, or feedback, so the user knows that they're in the right spot, and then what are they supposed to do next? Because, like I said, if I know the process, that's great. But if I'm going through this for the first time, I may not know what I've just accomplished, and then what's the next step that I'm supposed to go through. So that's the main thing about your Captivate project. Your Flash project, okay, your Animate project, it worked fine. Okay, I would have liked to have seen a button, a stop action button on your next scene. So when I go to the scene 2, it's got the hammer and nail. Okay, it's got the action to stop it. Okay, here at the end of this at a slide 110. Okay, so I've got all of this screen. I'm not quite sure why it's that long. Okay, considering the nail, the hammer hanging the nail is actually a movie. So if I click on this, I know that this is a movie. Okay, because it's one of your symbols. Okay, so in the library, if I go in here, you have a hammer, which is actually itself a movie. So I know that the animation goes with this because I went in here, checked the animation. It hits bang, it hits bang, it hits bang. Like I said, that's great. But the challenge is when I get back to the main part of the scene, it is actually it's going over and over again. But when I get to this stop screen, now what am I supposed to do? It really needs to have a button that takes you back to your first scene, okay, so that you can make this happen. And remember, just like you did with the other one, you have your stop script on here. I can see that, but we do not have any button. So we could actually go to our library. We can take and actually, we have a button that start, but we can actually put another button out there. Remember, just like you created the start button, you're putting an object out on the stage. And so I'm going to do the rectangle, and I'll draw the box here and fill it with a different color. And fill and fill. And then I'll put on this one. So I need to make it so this has got some text on there, so I know what to do, and I need to convert it to a symbol. So I'm going to start off by converting it to a symbol. I'm going to highlight it. It's a control click on it, and then we convert to symbol, and I'll put in here BTN, and then back to scene 1. Okay, so I know that's what that button is supposed to do. I'm going to put in their buttons. Okay, click on OK. And so now I have got this object as a symbol. I can double click on that so I can edit the symbol, and that's where I'll put in the text. So I'm going to put in some text on it. I'm going to choose a different text color, choose black, and then I'm going to go just basically, I'll click on this, and then back to, or I can just put in there scene 1. Okay, and I need to reduce the size of it. So I need to go to properties. I'm going to make that smaller. So right now it's 25, and I'm going to make it so it's 18. So it's small enough to fit on there. I'll put it inside. Okay, so now that's that. Now, one of the other things is, remember when we make these buttons, we were going to do that alternate state. So if I go to my over, and if I insert a keyframe, so timeline, insert keyframe, now it takes whatever was on the previous one, and now I can actually change the background of my box so that you can tell that I'm on the different scene. So I'm going to roll over that. I'll make it so that it's I don't know, pink for some reason. Okay, You do not have to have a downstate or an overstate. All right, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to check and make sure this works. We go back to the scene. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to take that that symbol, okay, and I need to add the actions like I did before. Okay, and I just realized something. I put this on the same layer as something else, and I need to make sure it's not. So I'm going to do my hammer layer. I'm going to insert another layer. I'm going to call this a button. Okay, and then I'm going to copy this symbol, okay, and I can actually even just remove it completely, go over to my buttons layer, and then go to the library and add it out there. So if I go button back to, and then if I drag this out, now it's going to have all that information on it. Remember, you need to take, and while you have it there, you're going to take and go to the properties, give it an instance name. Okay, so this one is going to be back to scene 1. Okay, so I have the instance name in there. Now what I'm going to do is I can actually have that. I can actually put an actions on that. Okay, now we have the instance. So I'm going to control click, and for me, we go to, where's my little actions? Oh, I need to do this. Okay, I need to go to my actions layer, and come on, there we go. And I'm going to put in there, actions, What actions there? Okay, so go to actions, go to, there's actions. Okay, I'm going to go to this instance. Okay, when I click on that, it takes me into here. I use my code snippets to help me, and my code snippets are for action scripts. And then I'm doing timeline navigation, so I'm controlling the timeline. And then I'm going to go to scene and play. So okay, so I'm going to go to scene, not previous or next. Remember, we do not use previous or next. So go to scene and play, and I'm going to double click on that. It'll add the code over here, but it's going to ask me what scene. This is where you have to edit this. This can't be scene 1. This is scene, or actually scene 3. It's scene 1, and then I'm going to seal the deal by closing this down, and now the script is there. Okay, so now if I go and I'm going to do a save as, and I'm going to put in there -L. Come on, come on, save as, and anytime I make any big changes, I make a little note in there. So Al, I'm going to put this in my downloads, save, and then I'm going to test this. So test movie in browser. It's going to come up. It's going to show your first screen, which is great. I can click on the start. Then it takes me to my button. Okay, and remember, this animation is going to keep on occurring because we have it as a symbol that's a movie. But I can go to the scene, click on that, and it jumps you back to the beginning. Okay, so that's the thing that you need to build in your animate, is to build that button that allows it to go back to the beginning scene. Okay, everything else, I mean, there's some odd things that work a little different than I expected them, but this will work fine for this assignment. And then the Captivate is the other one that you need to make some changes. We need to do that part with the Captivate. All right, thank you very much, and I look forward to see your updated Captivate file and your updated animate file. Thanks. Bye bye.